A new pair of nationwide polls paints a divergent picture of the 2020 presidential race. Joe Biden is ahead by double digits in a new ABC News Washington Post poll. CNN has him up by just 4 points over President Trump. Meanwhile, our latest CBS News polling has the former vice president leading President Trump by 10 points nationally. That translates to a large advantage in the Electoral College, with 279 electoral votes leading Biden's way at the moment. For more, let's bring in CBS News Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, welcome. Good to see you. How impactful is a vice presidential pick on a ticket, generally speaking?
Well, it can solidify the base. It can make the base happy, which it clearly has in the case of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. First, Elaine, let me just quickly put those polls you mentioned at the top in context for everybody. The bulk of polling so far has Joe Biden with a double-digit national lead, including ours. The CBS News Battleground Tracker that you mentioned is the largest polling operation we've ever conducted in a presidential race. We've rolled in 50,000 interviews across the country with people in recent weeks. So we really do want to say that at the moment, Joe Biden has this lead, and I'll break down the map for you in a second, but folks should always know that that can change. And we've got 2 conventions to go, and you mentioned 78 days, a lot can happen. So that is a snapshot of the moment. Now, let me finally answer your question about the VP pick. The Democrats are, in a word, glad that Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris. But what's even more interesting to me, Elaine, is that when we look at this number right here, will her being on the ticket make it easier for Joe Biden to win? It's that 61% that caught my eye, because you'll recall back in the primaries that it was Democrats thinking that Joe Biden could win in November that really gave him the boost for the nomination. So this is a calculus that's been really important for Democrats. And seeing them feel, playing political consultant for a minute, that Harris even adds to those chances is probably a big reason why they're glad for the pick, Elaine.
So Joe Biden has typically polled well with African-American voters. Does the pick of Harris impact that at all? It
does. Look at the enthusiasm number here among African-American voters in our poll. You've got a majority, 53%, who say that they are enthusiastic about it, and the bulk of them, almost all of them, are at least satisfied. So yes, and that's a constituency, of course, so important to Democratic chances. So far, they like the pick, Elaine.
Well, let's talk about President Trump. His support among suburban women has slipped. Talk to us about how that voting bloc has changed since 2016 and what might account for that change.
Sure. Let me show you this number. This is women who hold college degrees. Not exactly, we don't want to conflate that with just suburban. Suburban, of course, is a geography, but it often stands for some types of voters who folks think move to the suburbs. The suburbs are pretty diverse now, just the same. But you look at these numbers for Joe Biden at 63% among women with college degrees, and that's up double digits from the way Hillary Clinton ran with those voters in 2016. Now, the other point about this is that that puts a lot of states into play. Metro areas from every place across the Sun Belt, from Atlanta to around Texas and Dallas, as well as through the upper Midwest, that can help swing states. And that's why we're going to watch this, because broader context, voters with college degrees have been trending Democrats, did so in the midterms. Voters without college degrees have been, by and large, majority for President Trump. Elaine.
All right, Anthony, before we let you go, can you expand for us on the electoral map? Where does polling put things right now?
I can indeed. This is a shot of the electoral map. I'm glad you asked, okay, because we've got it here. And what's nice about this is that it shows how different the regions are in terms of, here's the battlegrounds that we always talk about as battlegrounds. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, all of those places, every 4 years we're talking about them, and they're leaning towards Joe Biden. That's helping him at the moment in our polling. Now, what's interesting this year is the way that the Sun Belt has come into play. Arizona is a toss-up in our estimates right now. Georgia, which the president won last time fairly comfortably, is a toss-up right now. And even Texas is only barely leaning towards Donald Trump in our estimates, and that's one he won very comfortably. Why is it? Well, there's a story under here we'll talk about going forward, and that is that a majority of voters in all of these states feel that the administration hasn't handled the COVID response very well. All of that is related to vote, and that is accruing to Joe Biden, which is helping put a large number of states in play and also giving him what we would convert to, at the moment, an electoral college lead. Elaine.
All right, Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, I know we're talking about a lot of serious things. I have to say, though, it makes me oh so happy. I'm sure you're thrilled, too, to be standing there back at your post in the broadcast center with that magic screen behind you. Yay.
It is
All right,
indeed.
Anthony, thank you so
you.
much.